Hello and welcome to the show where we're celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who. And this time I'm joined by actor Tim Treloar, who's going to talk. How are you, Tim, anyway?
I'm fine, thank you, Frank. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah,
Good.
so we'll be talking, Tim, through about your career, some of your highlights in television, as well as the work that you've done on extensively on Big Finish. Uh, and more importantly, the voicing the Third Doctor for a series of adventures, which is really cool. Uh, but I just want to go through some of your early stuff, that some of the credits I saw. Obviously, I just picked out a couple of things, uh, and if you want to share some memories of those particular roles that you did, then please do.
Yeah.
Uh, for instance, I got three down here. I've got Silent Witness, Midsummer Murders, and A Touch of Frost. Any sort of things that stood out for you there?
I've done Midsummer Murders, I think about 4 or 5 times, I think. I mean, only small roles. I think I was a policeman in them. That was, gosh, quite a few years ago now. It's going back 10, 15 years. Silent Witnesses, again, that's quite a while ago. I do play a lot of policemen for some
You do,
reason.
right?
Well, I have played a lot of policemen, yeah. Yeah, I was a policeman in that. Undercover, not undercover, I was a Socko in that. And Touch of Frost, that was different. I was a dad. I was the red herring in a murder. So I think there was someone found dead in my house, and I think there was a possibility that they thought it was me. That again, that was a long while ago, but it was obviously wonderful working with the legend that is David Jason.
Yes, I was going to ask you what that was like, and did you learn from anything from him
Well, yeah, he gave me a few
as an actor?
notes. I think
Yeah,
he's a producer on it as well. He gave me a few notes during for my delivery, and that's always very helpful
yeah,
to get sort of advice from someone with that wealth of experience and
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
be a
yeah.
genius.
Where was that shot, by the way, Tim? Where were you for that? Do you know?
God, I can't remember. I can't remember.
Oh,
It's somewhere. It's usually somewhere sort of on the excuse me around the M25 somewhere. On the borders of the M25. Most of these things are shot around there.
yeah,
Unfortunately, some of them are right on the Heathrow, the fly, the flyover zone. So there's a lot of the time the sound guys going right. There's a plane coming in. There's a plane coming. So you have to pause and things like that.
yes. Oh, that's one of the worst nightmares of filming, isn't it? When you've got noises you
Oh yeah,
can't
yeah,
control
yeah.
like that.
But you're going back. You're going back now. I mean, those three things you mentioned are all. Poor God, they were in the 2000s, I think.
Yeah, yeah, they are a
Uh,
bit. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the one I've done more recently is called Wolf, which is on BBC iPlayer now, I
Yes,
think.
I was getting onto that actually. I was going to ask you about that because I just saw the trailer for it on IMDb. They had a trailer for it, uh, um, and it looks really interesting. It looks very dark,
Okay.
um, and interestingly, two people I noticed straight away in the cast was Sacha Dhawan,
Yeah.
of course, and we know that he played the recent Master in Doctor Who, and also an actor called Owen Teale, who
Yes.
I met years and years ago at the stage door of a theatre. I can't even remember what the production was now. Really lovely man, Welshman, fellow Welshman like
He is.
yourself,
Yeah.
uh, um, and he appeared in a classic Doctor Who with Colin Baker as
Oh,
the
did.
Doctor.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so again, there's all these connections again.
Absolutely.
It's a small world,
It
Yeah.
is.
What can you tell me about that? Because I saw in the cast you got a very sort of mysterious name called the Walking Man.
That's me.
That's you, yeah.
That's me. The books are called the Walking Man series.
Ah,
Um, but it follows mainly as a main policeman played by Achweli Roach, and all my scenes were with him. We've got. So I don't want to do too many spoilers here, but
yes,
there's a connection between the two of them, between the Walking Man and Achweli Roach. We're both looking for a close relative, um, and we both sort of are on a mission. So I think the concept of the term wolf is the lone wolf. So I think he's a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I mean, my part's not. He's got the main part. It's
yeah.
I'm only in a couple of scenes per episode, but I'm hoping they go for a second series because Yeah, it'd be lovely to do that again, because it was wonderful, because we filmed it in South Wales, and the unit base was next to the church I was christened in so
Ah,
many years ago. And obviously I left Wales in 1980, it's 40 years ago. We left Wales as my family. So it was just full circle, to go back and be in the village I grew up in.
that
It
must have
was.
been nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely
Did you
wonderful.
get time to have a look around and everything?
Oh, a little bit, but not
Yeah,
that much, because
yeah,
usually you get on set and you go to makeup and wardrobe, and you're fed,
yeah,
uh, and they just want to make sure they know where you are all times, because in case
yeah, yeah,
because time is money, so they'll give you a 5-minute warning, and then they say, right, travel in 5 minutes, and then right, travel in, and you get bundled into a nice car and then taken down to set.
yes.
Yeah,
It looks good though, from what I've seen in the trailer. It does look. It actually looks really, really
fantastic.
intriguing.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really
uh,
good.
and they look like Dewan's playing a really crazy guy in it. It looks pretty violent and dark.
Yeah,
From what
yeah,
I gathered from that 2-minute trailer.
yeah. It's definitely worth
Uh,
a watch. It's definitely
yeah,
worth.
so I'm going to have to see that. So is that like a? It's actually been recently released. It's like
Yeah.
currently shown at the
I think
moment,
it
or is
came
it?
out in I think it was released in August. I think July or August.
Okay, yeah,
So, but I think it's on iPlayer. I don't know how
it's
long
on
they.
iPlayer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to check it out, Tim. Yeah, certainly. It really drew me in. Actually, watching it. Uh, um,
And they
uh,
mentioned, they mentioned Doctor Who in it.
oh,
There's a
really?
scene, there's a scene where Doctor. I won't tell you anymore, but there's a scene where Doctor Who is mentioned.
Ah, you see,
There we go.
it always seems to sneak in, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does.
If it's not the actors in it, it's something else.
Exactly.
Uh, but another intriguing thing I saw, because you don't hear of these things being shot this way, not generally speaking, anyway. People are experimenting more with the way they shoot film now. Um, but I'd like to know about this from you, Tim. I saw this in your resume there. I saw a short film you did called Viral,
Oh yeah,
and it said it was all shot using iPhones.
yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
I need a little. I only a nephew. I don't even think see my face. I've
Uh,
got a gas mask on. I think I just did it. Yeah, it's kind of. It was just after the pandemic. I think it's a sort of zombie thing. Um, but we did a lot of that. They're shooting with iPhones during lockdown.
yeah.
For a company, I worked for a company a few times during lockdown called Original Theatre Company, where basically we'd done a production of Birdsong a couple of times actually. Went out 4 times. I was in two of the productions in 2013, 2018, and they decided to film it during lockdown. So in its embryonic stage, what we had our own iPhones on a little stand, and then there would be a one of those fake backgrounds you put on Zoom.
Oh yes, yeah,
And you had that, whether that was the trenches or a hospital or what have you. But that was beautifully done. And that was, as I say, in its embryonic stage. And then it developed to, I did another one called The Haunting of Alice Bowles, and which is a ghost story. It's about who's that very famous ghost writer? M.R. James.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they then sent, oh my God, my spare room was just full of boxes of camera equipment and sound equipment. So we were instructed, we had them on Zoom, and they were instructing us how to put together all this equipment in our spare rooms.
Right.
Unbelievable. It was like Christmas every day for about 2 weeks, where I was getting these deliveries from Amazon. And my spare room did look like a film set. Uh,
Yeah,
and so they recorded it on these special phones. But yeah, the iPhone thing, I think Original Theatre Company was so innovative in developing this and sort of adapting to the conditions that we had at the time.
yeah. It's
And
an
they,
interesting way of doing it, isn't it? You know.
well, it is. I
Yeah,
mean, it's obviously not ideal because you want various camera angles.
yeah,
But I think they adapted just very, very well, and the results are really very good.
yeah. Yeah, I was quite fascinated when I read that as to because I've not heard of many movies, films that have been done that way.
But that one, the
Mm.
viral was filmed sort of in not in someone's bedroom. That was filmed after lockdown. That was filmed in a tower block somewhere in South London, using people's front rooms and stairwells and things like that. So that one, I think they used iPhones, I think, on a mount. So similar to when you do motion capture, I think there was a sort of body cam thing facing inwards, facing your face. So a lot of, so as you turned, you were almost in the person's head, because where they turn, it was quite quick. It is quite very sort of discombobulating. But that was deliberately done by the director, Tristan Shepherd. And yeah, that's fantastic. It's worth checking out. That short
Yes, I
film.
will. I will have to see that. Yeah. Is there any? Where would you suggest I could find that? Is it on? Is it?
Maybe on the, I'm not sure. I was sent a copy, I think, whenever it was. I think YouTube probably will have it or something. Or
I'll try and search
yeah,
it for it.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you'd be available somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's two good things that I'm going to have to check out there, Tim.
Okay.
Wolf and Viral,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Now getting on to Big Finish. I think I'm right in saying that your first appearance in it wasn't as the Third Doctor. Obviously, you were just doing various guest roles. And was it Destination Nerva with Tom Baker? Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's right. I did do quite a lot of guest parts in the various Doctors. Working with Tom, working with Colin, Sylvester, Paul, Dave. Got a bloody name now.
Peter.
Peter.
So you've done
Peter.
nearly all of them, really,
Right,
yeah.
but yeah, I did Survivors, Blake 7. I did quite a few of other stuff. But yeah, that one, actually, Destination Nerva was my first one. And that was with Tom Baker. And basically, I was playing a Victorian zombie lord and who colonizes space. And I sort of, instead of doing a sort of like very sort of soldierly voice, I did quite a camp voice, sort of like very sort of fair.
Upper crust, kind of, yeah.
Upper crust.
Yeah.
And during the call-ins, Tom was going, "Oh, he sounds like someone. He sounds like someone." To Nick, he was saying this to Nick Briggs, and in the end, he went, "Yes, it's John." In the middle of a take. So I think I didn't hear this at the time, but then I think about a couple of years later, I was in New York working on a play, and I got a phone call from one of the producers of Big Finish and said, "We're going to look at a possible recast." They felt that enough time had passed since John Pertwee's passing for them to possibly look at it. I mean, and it was with obviously Katie's blessing.
Yeah.
So they put me in and the first third Doctor Adventures, but the first box set. But they had me as a narrator as opposed to playing the Third Doctor.
Yes.
So I was a narrator and then doing his voice, almost like an audio book. And I think the fans went with it in the majority. And I think the biggest note was drop the narrator. So that's how it happened. And I mean, how many have we done now? I think it's about 14
Quite a few, yeah. Yeah, you've done quite a few.
Something
With
like
more
that.
to come, hopefully.
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah. And of course, there were a couple of people in the early ones that you did that were original cast members from that era.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the big one was Katie. That was recurring character that came back. But you also had Richard Franklin and John Levine popping in there as well.
Yeah, they've been in a couple times. I think Richard was in the first box set, and I think John's been in a couple.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always a pleasure. I mean, I actually a couple of years ago I went to Alban, where Devil's End, as you know it as.
Oh yes, yeah, that little village. I haven't been there, but yeah, that looks really nice. That place.
Well, it hasn't changed in 50 years.
Right.
It's incredible how it hasn't changed at all. Apart from the pub sign is not the Cloven Hoof, whatever it's called now. It's called the
different name. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Yeah.
But it's exactly the same, and that was fun because I think Katie was there then and John was there. So it was just odd, sort of these people. You've seen them sort of playing this part here, and then 50 years later they're back in exactly the same location. So that was fun.
That must have been nice. Yeah. I hear it's a beautiful village.
Oh, it's a lovely village, yeah.
A beautiful part of the country, yeah.
It is. It's the Cotswolds, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Wiltshire, is it?
I think it's Wiltshire, yes. It's Wiltshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was lovely, yeah.
I'd like to go there, yeah, or anywhere. I mean, I love the parts. We got a beautiful country, haven't we? Really, let's face it.
Yeah.
Parts of the UK are absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
Wales as well. I've been to certain
yeah.
parts of Wales, absolutely breathtaking scenery.
Yeah, absolutely. In Scotland and the Lake
Yeah,
District, we have got some beautiful scenery in this
oh,
country.
absolutely. Yeah. Um, so you, um, I imagine, Tim, that at first you kind of nervous, sort of taking on the mantle of the Third Doctor,
Oh, yeah.
voice. It must have been quite an undertaking, yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think I blocked that out. I blocked the nerves out, and I think they probably manifested themselves in sort of panic on the day, I would have thought. I mean, and it's still not, I don't go into the studio having done no research. I do a couple of weeks preparation before I go in again. Watching the old videos, listening to his voice and his mannerisms, and looking at the script where I can sort of do
Yeah,
Pertwee-esque styles of speaking. But yeah, it's an honor. It's just a huge privilege, and I absolutely love it. And we have such a great time in the studio. Nick Briggs, obviously, is the producer, and whether it's Katie or Sadie or Liz or Daisy, sorry, who were playing their real life mums.
yeah, yeah.
And John Coulshaw, of course. It's always a wonderful atmosphere.
Is John Culshaw naughty in between takes? Did he start breaking out into different impressions and things, or?
We're all very naughty. Yeah, John is the same as the rest of us. Yeah, I love John to pieces. I mean, not only I think he's probably our greatest impressionist, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
also a brilliant actor as well.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is.
So yeah, John's a lovely man. Really is. Yeah, they're all lovely, and Daisy and Sadie are as well. Obviously, as well as Katie, who's that massive ball of wonderful, positive energy.
Yeah. Have you found after doing it for so many years now, you've done? I mean, you've done it for about a decade or nearly, or
yeah, 9 years. Well, I did the light at the end. I think I did a couple of lines in the light at the end when I didn't really know what I was doing. That was for the 50th anniversary, so that was 2013. So yeah, 2014. So
yeah.
I think it's 2014. So 9 years. Yeah.
So has it become easier for you to do it now? Do you feel more comfortable in it in
I
the
feel
role?
more comfortable. I'm less panicky. Well, not
Yeah.
panicky. I was never panicky, but I I'm trying different things each time we do it. So sometimes I'm trying to go. I worked a lot on getting his softness, the Third Doctor's softness, and his love of humanity, and I sometimes try and get his lower timbre of voice,
Yeah.
and scattered sort of like machine gun delivery, which is so impressive. Because obviously he was always an actor more associated with comedy.
He was, yes, yeah, yeah,
Doctor Who was his first serious part, so he took it so seriously. And you had this sibilant S, a slight sort of not speech impediment, but an almost a lisp. And so you can see him working so hard where there's all those S words, sonic screwdriver and things like that. And so that's something that's helped me actually. I go, oh great! Every time there's an S, I know where to go. And
yeah.
in fact, the emphatic way he delivers certain lines, and his sense of foreboding, and his naughty, his cheekiness. They're all things, it's so multi-layered. So when I watched all the Third Doctor stuff, it's hard to sort of sit and enjoy it as a TV program because I'm too busy focusing on.
You're kind of researching, as it were.
Yeah, I'm focusing on John Pertwee, the actor.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Third Doctor, I'm focusing on what he as an actor is doing. What his motivation between saying every line is. That's my sort of way I try to get into it by watching his motivation.
Yeah. What was your earliest image or memory of Doctor Who when you were a kid? Something sort of stuck in your mind?
Tom Baker was my Doctor. I love Tom Baker. I love K9. I think it might have been the one with what's the one? Is it the Dalek film with Peter Cushing?
Oh yeah. Is
it Peter Cushing?
Peter Cushing, yeah.
Yeah, and Roy Castle's in that one. I can't remember.
He was in one of them, yeah.
Cribbins. I'm not sure. That film was great. I used to love that film.
Yeah.
I don't remember John Pertwee. I do remember. Well, I remember Wurzel Gummidge. I used to love.
Yes, I used to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember him as the Doctor. I think I had a sort of like something in my head because what what happened with Doctor Who is that I watched Tom Baker's Doctor Who for years, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite programs. I had all the annuals, I had the books, I think I had a Doctor Who kit of some sort. And when he regenerated, I didn't know what this regeneration thing was about. I'd never heard of it. So when he turned into Peter Davison, I was like, well, what's going on here? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Ooh, become a different person for a short while. And then I turned it on next week and watched and watched and watched, like 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, and he was still Peter Davison. And I went, this isn't Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who for me, you know. I know Pete
Yeah.
was a wonderful doctor, but I didn't understand the regeneration thing. So I switched off.
It took me a while to get my head around that as well at the time, you know.
Yeah.
I think you feel kind of cheated almost when you're a kid. You think, he's taking my favorite away. Who's this imposter? You know, that
I
kind of
know.
thing.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that happens with James Bond, doesn't it?
It's the same sort of thing. Yeah, some people don't come around to the new guy
No.
too quickly. You know,
Yeah.
it takes time. It
Yeah.
takes a couple of episodes or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Generally.
does. But unfortunately, I think I'd made my mind up and I went out and played football instead. Got my Panini sticker album and you know, my toy guns and toy soldiers probably, and
Yeah.
watched something.
Uh,
Green Chiller
um,
when he took over, I think.
yeah. I kind of dipped. I must admit, I was a bit the same as you. With the latter series, mid 80s onwards, sort of thing. I kind of dipped in and out of it. I didn't watch it religiously every week. I
Yeah,
have to be honest.
yeah,
It's one thing and another, you know. I guess
yeah,
until it came back with Chris Eccleston, I got kind of back into it again.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Uh, um, but I was going to ask you about this new series that you've done. I mean, you've done the Third Doctor with Joe Grant,
Hmm.
uh, as you were in of that era, you know,
Yeah,
evoking that era. Um, I have to admit, when I listen to those, I have a couple of your stories from that period, that you know, that with you and Katie, and what I like about them, the way they're produced, is the music,
hmm.
the electronic score. It really is evocative of that era, and it does make you think you're in there, you know.
Yeah,
And I think that's very cleverly done.
yeah, brilliantly done.
You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
really does make it
Nick
more.
Briggs, I think Nick Briggs is, you know, he's genius.
It oh,
Um,
and Nicholas he did most of the scores for that.
I think he's done something. Well, definitely done. Oh God, I'll be in trouble now for not knowing. I know he's done that. I don't know. I'm guessing he's done them all. I'm not sure, but I don't want to
Yeah,
take away from someone else's effort. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I hear him in the studio and he's playing, you know, all this sort of stuff on this lecture
yeah.
and sort of thing. But yeah, it's great. It does evoke the era really, really well.
I hope, and I know you can't reveal anything, and I'm not pressing you at all, Tim, but I'm just saying from my perspective, my point of view, I hope at some point that they will bring the master into it, into your stories. It's in some shape or fashion. I know that John Coleshaw can do quite competent voices of the masters, because he's
Oh
done
no,
some readings before, I believe.
yeah.
Although I don't know whether it would be overkill for John Coleshaw to do all that, you know, I don't know, but you know, to do the brig and that. But I mean, you know, that would be kind of nice, because that's been hasn't been um
we haven't
haven't
encountered
explored that yet. Yeah.
yeah, we haven't explored that in the ones that were released yet. No. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen at some
Yeah,
point.
that would be wonderful. Yeah, I think that would be really nice if something like that happens. To
Hmm.
hear you up against, you know,
Yeah,
the oldest adversary, you know.
yeah.
Um, so if you're listening, Big Finish, you know, do give it a thought. Although I'm sure they've already thought about that. I think they're way ahead of me, but yeah. The This is one I wanted to talk to you about. I've not, and I have to admit, I've not heard it yet, but I've heard very good things about it. It's one of the more recent releases, Tim, that you did from evoking season 7, the first Pertwee series, which is all on Earth and everything, you know. Uh, uh, um, and it's a mammoth one. It's like the way the series used to be. It's like 7 episodes long.
Hmm.
Um, how long did that take you to record that?
You're talking about intelligence for war.
No, the Annihilators I was thinking of, but we
Oh,
can
no,
talk.
like,
You can talk about
yeah,
that
not a
too. Yeah,
couple of years ago. I think that was the first 7-part one that I've done. That was Nick Briggs wrote that. Yeah, I think we took 3 days probably.
Yeah, you must have done.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I can't remember. That's 2 years ago, I think that came out.
wow, it just goes by so fast. I think these are
Yeah.
recent. They're not that recent.
No, yeah, since then we've had Kaleidoscope, Return of Joe Jones, Intelligence War. I think we've had about 4 since then. But yeah, that's what we do now. I mean, it used to be two stories per box set. Now it's one big, long sort of poetry era sort
Yeah,
of episode length. You know, yeah, they're great fun doing. I mean, as I say, we always have a great guest cast coming in as well. We
yeah.
put them very quickly, and I hope so. And it's it's fun. I can't remember the Annihilators. Yeah, it was 2021, I think, or
Wow.
2020. It might have even been. I think we were in lockdown when we recorded that.
I'm so far behind with them. It's terrible. I mean,
Well,
but
there's a
there's
lot
so
to get
many
through.
titles. That's the thing.
But there's a lot to get through, isn't it?
It's impossible to keep up with all of it.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
so many.
yeah.
You have to kind of be a little bit choosy with what you get, or listen to. It's just impossible
Well,
to get all of
I'd
them.
say if you're going to be choosy, just listen to the Third Doctor ones.
That's the ones, yeah. I'm making a little list of these things anyway, yeah. But the Annihilators, the reason I brought that up was because along comes the second Doctor in it, but played by Michael Troughton,
So,
Patrick's son,
yeah,
and you've got Fraser Hines back as well as Jamie.
yeah.
So were you in studio at that time, or was that lockdown period when you recorded it? Were you together for that,
I
or
think I remember being with Michael, but that might have been part of it. Oh gosh,
because lockdown was 2020, wasn't it? So
yeah.
yeah,
I
it could
mean,
have been.
Michael did a lot. I remember working with Michael remotely. I think I would have been in the studio. I mean, I've got recording facilities at home, but I've never had to rely on them for Doctor Who. I mean, I've used them for other things, the audiobooks
Yeah.
and stuff. There's a studio not far from me. In fact, the one where I did my first Doctor Who, in a place called Wadhurst, in Kent, which is 40 minutes or so.
Oh, Kent, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a lovely studio there. I think during lockdown I was there a lot, and I think everyone else was remote. And then sometimes we go to Acton in London, North Acton, and record there. Yeah, I think he would have been probably remote, Michael. I'm sure he was. I mean, there's so many. It's
Yes,
hard
that's
to.
the thing.
I've got little snapshots of being and listening to someone on audio, but not being able to see them because they're in their spare bedroom or in their broom cupboard or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh,
Recording.
I'm curious now. Yeah, that's the point. When you're remotely recording,
Hmm.
um, is it done a bit like how we are now? Do you see the fellow actors on screen? Is it like a meeting thing, or
I have, and I'm sure you could if they
yeah,
get the laptop up. But you hear it also. You've got the studio. You've got the sort of the cockpit, if you will, where the producer and the director are, and the sound engineer are, and then there's the actual studio with the mics. And usually you're isolated in some way from each other, just for sound purposes. But sometimes you're not. So normally you have the people there, but if they're remote, you just hear them. You'd be able to chat to them.
yeah,
But sometimes there's a delay. There was always a delay in the initial recordings, where people were phoning in,
yeah?
and sometimes you get the odd little glitch. So there might be like a second delay, but we got past it all, and I think the results were, as good as they would be if we were all in the studio together.
That's amazing, isn't it? What they've achieved,
Oh, it is. It's like when you have to.
it's extraordinary, isn't it? When you're up against
Yeah,
it, what you can
yeah,
pull out of the hat.
British resourcefulness, isn't it?
Ah, yes, that's right there.
Exactly.
So when you're at, I mean, you talked about how you do it remotely, but when you're actually like typically we're in the studio, what was the average day of recording, Tim? How many hours would it generally be a day, and that kind of thing?
Probably 10 till 6, or 10 till 5 or something like that, with an hour's break.
Yeah,
Time. And then, but you have a lot of time. I mean, you'd have, they very, very carefully arrange a schedule. So someone might go in and record 10 scenes or 5 scenes. So they're not going in and out, we don't do it chronologically. It's like filming. You don't do it chronologically.
Yeah.
So someone might go in for several scenes. It depends on their availability. Someone might only be available for 1 or 2 days of the 3. So they'll record all this stuff in those 1 or 2 days.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
Get lots of breaks. You do get lots of breaks.
Yeah.
So, and then you just go in and sit and have a cup of coffee or whatever and have a chat. And then you're back in. Producer will come and get you and say, right, scene 64, and you'll be in them for several scenes. But then you have a break. So there's a lot of breaks. But I do find recording the Third Doctor one of the most physically and mentally draining things I've done. I mean, I've done a lot of theatre, a lot of very physical stuff, and I'm usually sort of energized by the end of it. But the Third Doctor, because I'm playing someone who's playing someone else, and it's quite, my brain, it takes a while to catch up. I think my brain's sort of overworking, and also what people don't get with radio or audio work, it's not just about the voice. You have to almost physically act as well in there.
Oh,
so
yes.
the body is engaged as well. That's something I took a long time to learn. I thought it was just all about the voice and sounding, charming or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a physical thing. You have to act as you would in a theatre. Your body is very, very engaged with it. I mean, God knows what it would look like if people fly on the wall and they were taking sort of silent movie of me or other people on the studio. They think we're mental, because it was gesturing around. But I do find it helpful to do some of the gestures. There's that one, or there's that thing that
he's doing that, or rubbing his neck, or
rubbing his neck, and that
yeah,
one when he's thinking, the hands and the hips. And in fact, Katie would be great at that. Sometimes if I'm struggling with a line, she'll come and she'll get my eye and she'll do that's one of these.
Don't forget to do that. Yeah.
It really does help. She's so supportive in the studio. I love her to pieces.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's always great to have that, isn't it? Yeah.
I've got her endorsement, you see. That's been crucial. I owe her a great deal. I owe them all a great deal, But yeah, her endorsement has been crucial, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
And it's good to know you're going to be doing some more with her as well, I believe. So that's nice.
I hope so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I hope you do. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to come too forward here in your presumptions, but I'm sure you will, because they are popular. I can't see why not.
Yeah.
So anyway, Tim, that's all I have for you, and I really appreciate your time very much, joining me.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And guys, take care, and hopefully we'll be back with a few more interviews to celebrate 60 years of Doctor Who coming up. So all the best to you, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.